You're explaining something important. Mid-sentence, someone cuts you off. Again, you pause. You smile politely. You wait for them to finish. And then you try to continue, only to be interrupted again 30 seconds later. By the end of the conversation, you've said almost nothing. They've said everything, and you leave feeling invisible. Here's what nobody tells you. Interruptions aren't about the other person being rude. They're about you giving silent permission. Today I'm going to show you the ancient Stoic response that changes this dynamic immediately, not through aggression, through something the Romans called gravitas, the pattern. Let me tell you what happened to me 3 years ago in a project meeting. I'd spent 2 weeks preparing a proposal. 30 seconds in, my colleague interrupted with a tangent. I stopped. She kept talking. When she finished, I tried to continue. Another interruption within a minute. I felt my chest tighten. That familiar anger mixed with helplessness. And instead of continuing the pattern, something in me shifted, not into rage but into clarity. I paused deliberately, made eye contact, and said calmly, "Let me finish." She blinked, nodded, and I continued. No more interruptions from that meeting. And here's what shocked me. She apologized afterward. She hadn't realized she was doing it. That's when I understood what the Stoics knew 2,000 years ago. The Stoic foundation. The Roman Stoics understood something profound about human interaction. Seneca wrote, "A person is as wretched as he has convinced himself he is." When you allow constant interruptions, you're convincing yourself your voice doesn't matter. You're teaching yourself, and everyone watching, that your words are optional. In the Roman Senate, interrupting a speaker mid-speech was a serious breach, not because of rank, but because wisdom requires completion. The Romans had a term for this, perpetuare sententiam, to carry through your thoughts. It wasn't considered rude to insist on finishing. It was considered essential to civil discourse. Marcus Aurelius, who commanded armies and ruled an empire, didn't do it by being the loudest voice. He did it by being immovable when he spoke. Not aggressive, not domineering, simply clear and uninterruptible. That quality the Romans called gravitas. It wasn't about volume or force. It was about embodying the weight of your own words. When a person with gravitas spoke, others listened, not out of fear, but out of recognition that what was being said mattered. Here's how to build it. The 3-word reset. The phrase is simple. Let me finish. 3 words. No apology, no aggression, no explanation. But here's why it works when nothing else does. First, it's a statement, not a request. You're not asking permission to complete your thought. You're stating your intention. Epictetus taught, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. When you ask permission to finish speaking, you've already consented to being inferior in the conversation. Second, it's neutral in tone. You're not attacking the person. You're redirecting the conversation to its natural flow. The interruption was the disruption. Your phrase is the correction. Third, it's brief. Long explanations undermine authority. When you say, "I really need to finish this because it's important," you're justifying yourself. You're implying you need a good reason to finish speaking. You don't. Finishing your thoughts is the default. Interruption is the aberration. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You don't control whether someone tries to interrupt, but you absolutely control whether that interruption derails you. The delivery. The words matter, but delivery matters everything. Here's the exact sequence. Step 1. The strategic pause. When someone interrupts, stop immediately. Not a flustered pause, a deliberate one. Count 2 full seconds in your mind. This pause does something crucial. It separates their interruption from your response, preventing emotional reaction. The Stoics called this creating space between stimulus and response. In that space lies your power. Step 2. Captare animum. Capture attention. Make direct eye contact, not aggressive staring. Calm, steady eye contact. This signals presence, centeredness. The Romans understood that before you speak words of weight, you must signal that weight is coming. In the forum, skilled orators wouldn't shout over crowd noise. They would lower their voice and create silence first. The silence told everyone, what comes next deserves your full attention. Step 3. The declaration. Deliver the phrase, "Let me finish." Your tone should be even, perhaps slightly lower than your normal speaking voice. Not angry, not pleading, simply factual. You're stating what's about to happen. Seneca taught, brevity and calm in speech carry more force than the loudest cries. The power isn't in volume, it's a certainty. Step 4. Immediate continuation. This is critical. Don't wait for permission or acknowledgement. Immediately continue with what you were saying. You've corrected the course, now move forward. If you say, "Let me finish," and then stop, waiting to see how they react. You've turned it into a confrontation. But if you say it and smoothly continue, you've simply demonstrated where the boundary is and moved on. What happens next? Here's what typically happens after you use this sequence correctly. Most people will stop interrupting immediately. That moment of clarity, the pause, the eye contact, the calm statement, resets the entire dynamic. You've shown them where the boundary is without aggression. Some will apologize. "Oh, sorry, go ahead." Accept this with a simple nod. Don't make it bigger than necessary. You're not trying to shame anyone. You're establishing a boundary. A few will get defensive. "I was just trying to add something." Don't engage. Simply continue your point. Their defensiveness is theirs to manage, not yours to fix. What's remarkable is how this changes future interactions. Once you've calmly held this boundary one time, interruptions decrease dramatically. Sometimes they stop altogether. Why? Because you've changed the unspoken rules. Previously, the rule was anyone can interrupt anyone. You've quietly established a new rule: we complete our thoughts. The philosopher Epictetus taught, first learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. But I'd add this: once you speak, honor your words enough to finish them. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. When it doesn't work, let me be honest, this doesn't work with everyone. Some people deliberately dominate conversations as a power move. With them, "let me finish" might not be enough. You might need to say it twice. You might need to pair it with action, stepping back from the conversation entirely if they continue. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about dealing with difficult people who refuse to listen. His conclusion: sometimes the wisest response isn't better communication, it's distance. If someone repeatedly interrupts despite clear boundaries, you're getting important information. They're showing you they don't value your input. That's not a communication problem you fix with technique. That's a character problem you address with boundaries. But here's what I've learned. This situation is rarer than you think. Most interrupting isn't malicious. It's habitual, thoughtless, or excited. Most people, when given a clear boundary, respect it. The technique works about 80% of the time. For the other 20%, you need stronger boundaries, not better words. The deeper principle. This phrase isn't really about stopping interruptions. It's about something the Stoics considered fundamental: owning your right to take up space. Seneca taught, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. But before you can do either, you must be present in the conversation. And you can't be present if you're constantly interrupted. Every time you let yourself be interrupted without response, you reinforce a belief that other people's thoughts matter more than yours, that your contribution is less valuable, that you should be grateful for whatever attention you receive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." When someone interrupts you, you don't interrupt them back. You don't escalate. You simply hold your ground with calm clarity. That's gravitas. Not dominance, not aggression. Simply the quiet certainty that your words carry weight. The Romans understood that respect isn't demanded or begged for. It's demonstrated through quiet consistency. You don't need to explain why you deserve to finish speaking. You simply claim that space with 3 words, and immovable calm. Here's what changed for me after that meeting. The colleague who used to interrupt, she now waits for me to finish. Not because I dominated her, but because I showed her where the boundary was. Our conversations improved. We actually hear each other now. But the bigger change was internal. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. I stopped feeling guilty for having thoughts that required time to express. I stopped treating my voice as optional. That's the real transformation. Not that people stopped interrupting, that I stopped giving silent permission for interruptions to derail me. Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. You don't control whether someone tries to interrupt. You absolutely control whether you finish your thought anyway. So here's my question. In what conversation do you most need to use these 3 words? Drop a comment and let me know. If this resonated with you, subscribe to Stoic Forge. Every video here helps you build the inner strength to communicate with clarity, set boundaries with confidence, and live with wisdom the ancients discovered 2,000 years ago. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to reclaim their voice, and remember, you don't need permission to finish your thoughts. You just need the courage to continue them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.